My lords, allow me to speak personally as a Jew. Something about our faith moves me greatly and goes to the heart of this debate. At the dawn of our people's history, Moses assembled the Israelites on the brink of the Exodus. He did not talk about the long walk to freedom. He didn't speak about the land flowing with milk and honey. Instead, repeatedly, he turned to the far horizon of the future and spoke about the duty of parents to educate their children. He did it again at the end of his life in the famous words, "You shall teach these things repeatedly to your children, speaking of them when you sit in your house, when you walk on the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up." Why this obsession with education that has stayed with us from that day to this? Because to defend a country, you need an army. But to defend a civilization, you need schools. You need education as the conversation between the generations. Whatever the society, the culture, or the faith, we need to teach our children, and they theirs, what we aspire to and the ideals we were bequeathed by those who came before us. We need to teach them the story of which we and they are a part. And we need to trust them to go further than we did when they come to write their own chapter. We make a grave mistake if we think of education only in terms of knowledge and skills, what the American writer David Brooks calls the resume virtues, as opposed to the eulogy virtues. And this is not woolly idealism, it's hard-headed pragmatism. Never has the world changed so fast, and it's getting faster every year. We have no idea what patterns of employment will look like in 2, let alone 20 years from now, what skills will be valued, and which done instead by artificially intelligent, preternaturally polite robots. We need to give our children an internalized, moral, satellite navigation system so that they can find their way across the undiscovered country called the future. We need to give them the strongest possible sense of collective responsibility for the common good, because we don't know who will be the winners and the losers in the lottery of the global economy, and we need to make sure its blessings are shared. There's too much I and too little we in our culture, and we need to teach our children to care for others, especially for those not like us. We work for all these things in our Jewish schools. We give our children confidence in who they are so that they can handle change without fear and keep learning through a lifetime. We teach them to be not just proud Jews, but proud to be English, British, defenders of democratic freedom, and active citizens helping those in need. Schools are about more than what we know and what we can do. They're about who we are and what we must do to help others become what they might be.
The sponsors for tonight's event: Arista Air, Fine Jewelry by Colette, Papers Jewelry, West Trade, Kosher City, and an anonymous donor. For all of you, before I thank all of you, I especially want to thank all the people that have helped me put this group this evening together. I'm grateful for all of you for coming. Those who came here tonight and were on Zoom from a distance, in which you all showed your care of the situation in Eretz Yisrael, as well as the education in the world that needed so badly. Thank you to the staff also, Sherry Twill, who let me allow us, I paid for it, allowing us to use the capital of Shul. And I believe that I heard that Charlottesville becomes their sanctuary. I thought this was a really beautiful venue for such a meaningful evening. I was quite overwhelmed at the Hashgacha practice at the Divine Providence. I was down to make the introduction to tonight's get-together. Because when I looked into the parsha for this week, Parshas Pinchas, one of the first things that is a central focus in this week's parsha is the interaction between Moshe Rabbeinu and the interaction between Moshe and the daughters of Tzlachah. Here we are gathering in a program that's focused on women's continuing higher education. The Torah reading for this week includes the single time throughout the whole Torah that there is a woman, in this case there were 5, who came in front of Moshe Rabbeinu, and a mitzvah was brought forward as a result of their interaction. Who was Shlomo? Shlomo was a man from the shade of the tribe of Menashe, and he died around the time of Matan Torah. There are different opinions as to whether the approximately the time. Now, in Parshas Pinchas, the Jewish people were standing on the other side of the Yarden, on the easterly side, ready to go into Eretz Yisrael. The daughters of Salachah came to Moshe Rabbeinu and complained politely that their father died in the desert. He had no sons, and they put us his portion in the land. Or else, what would happen? That means that their father's inheritance would be lost, and there would be no memory of their father. Usually, boys inherit and not girls, but that's a different matter. It's not that enough. Moshe asked them, what did Hashem say? They answered that the girls should marry their Salachah's daughters, should marry men from their own tribe. And yes, they would inherit the land. That would have been their fathers in Eretz Yisrael. They didn't get a share of that. Imagine these girls lived in Moshe Rabbeinu with their fathers. The only time, this is the only time that the clarifying of a mitzvah was inspired by women. These women, these 5 in Salachah, were around 50 years old at the time of this incident, and they had never been married. Why not? They were so concerned about maintaining their father's inheritance in the Holy Land that they didn't want to risk marrying someone from another tribe, and then their children would have gone on to inherit from their father's tribe. So they stayed unmarried, waiting for the answer that Hashem should give them, that how were they going to take care of their father's inheritance. That for them was their prime concern. Such was their love for Eretz Yisrael. We are talking about 5 bright, interesting, caring women who placed the love of Eretz Yisrael before their own self-interests. But where did they get the fortitude to come forth and make this request? Where did they get the guts from? And there seemed to be contrary. Here, the parsha, the topic before this, was just about the division of the land of Eretz Yisrael. And here, they're coming to say, well, we want the peace too. That kind of sounds a little bit contrary. When recording the conversation between Muslim and Muslim, the Torah writes that they said, Lama Nigara Shem Avinu. Use the word Nigara to mean, why should we miss? Why should we miss out? Why should our father's memory be missed out from Klal Yisrael because of this law of inheritance? Why should our father's name be missed out from his family because of that? There is one other place where the same word Nigara, it's in different tense, is used. There is one other place where this term Nigara is used and it sends the same message, both in another place and here within the Salachah. And that is the people who came after Pesach and said, Lama Nigara, why should we miss out on Pesach Sheni? It's the law of Pesach Sheni that is other people came to complain about the Moshe Rabbeinu. And the halacha that we have today about Pesach Sheni is because they came to him in a very similar circumstance and said, why should we miss out? We were tamei, we were impure when we were offering the Pesach instead of the Pesach sacrifice. Why should we lose out? The end was, please, they said, please give us a second chance. And we know that they did have a second chance. The Torah writes that after the death of Aaron, Moshe's brother, there was much confusion and complaining in the Jewish camp. There was even a group of them that says, come, we're going to go back to Mitzrayim. Hebrew, that the women guarded and held on to the principles that were important for Klal Yisrael. The women had their heads on straight, and they made sure that Klal Yisrael was on the right path. And they had strategy. Where did they get the strategy from? The women. You don't put it all over your social media. You go to Moshe Rabbeinu. Whoever is your leader, whoever is your mentor, whoever is your Rav, whatever it is, you go for a trusted source in the Torah world. And then you come and you speak politely. You don't have to be angry because we have a question. You speak politely as you must love and to Moshe Rabbeinu. And then we learn another fabulous lesson. And that is that we must come and speak out and ask for what we need. As women and men, we don't always say what we feel that we need. We don't always speak out what we need. There's a marvelous story that's told in the Shimrei Achai, I'll hold it in 30 seconds or less. There was a couple who didn't have any children. And they came to the Shimrei Achai. And they told him their situation. They had been married for 10 years, and they didn't have any children. And the law and the religion held them, and they were not going to be able to separate. And so Shimrei Achai told them a fascinating thing. He says, if you made me go away, you got married for a party, you're going to separate the party. We've had a 5-piece grand, we've had a 10-course meal, the same thing you're going to do. And so they did, and then she just couldn't like, but she prepared this whole organization, and then she went to, they had the party, and she got her husband drunk. And he said to her, my wife, she was almost not his wife anymore, but he said to her, just take whatever you want from this party, and go back to your father's house. Well, she made him drunk. And once he was drunk, she told the servants, the helpers, to please take the bed, it was already flat out, he was that drunk, to take him and put him in her father's house where she was going back to. Well, after he was drunk, he did get up. And he says, what am I doing here? So she said to him, you told me that I should take the most important thing in my life, that which I love the most from our relationship, and that's you. And so the point of the story is that the Shimrei Achai wanted to bring out in her that she should verbalize what she needed and what she wanted, and although she wanted a child, she wanted him the most. And he was the absolute most important thing in her absolute life. And so the final message is that we first of all, we have to ask for what we want and state it unequivocally and warmly and politely and in the right way. And the final message that they learned, that must learn from Jesus shady people, was we have to learn. We have to learn the laws of the mitzvahs that we have to keep, as well as the 6 tenuous mitzvahs, the mitzvahs that are constant in our lives that we have to be doing 24/7. And so when we learn, we can be an inspiration and provide leadership to our families and the entire generation, and that's what Hashem wants from us. CyberSem, we come on the auspices to this program, is a platform for continuing Torah education for women, post-secondary. I founded CyberSem 10 years ago in order to make advanced Torah learning available in course format for college students and without credits, with credits and without. My goal was to provide opportunities for women to continue Torah learning in a more advanced format than when they were in high school. Our courses encompass content, transferable, and self-regulated learning skills. Here's the trailer for one of these courses.
CyberSem announces an essential new course, a deep dive into the Shabbos kitchen in Halacha. This multi-unit course is given by Rabbi Yaakov Goldstein of Sfas.
I want to welcome each and every one of you to the Shabbos kitchen course in Halacha.
A world-renowned posek, the director of the ShulchanAruchHarav.com, the world's leading web-based Halacha database, and author of over 40 Sforim studied throughout the world. There's nothing to compare to the depth and style of this treasure of practical halacha. Organized by Malacha, as the Rav speaks, the student will see motion graphics describing where and how each Malacha applies. These visuals provide us with an exceptional aid for far better retention of what the Torah is telling us. Class members log in to one of the most sophisticated study platforms in existence. They will see course videos, source sheets, quizzes, and have the opportunity to chat with classmates. Rav Goldstein lets students know when there's a difference of opinion between posting, so anyone with a shaila will know what to ask. It's a course where every woman in Klal Yisrael will feel comfortable that she's learning according to her community and custom. Women in every community will enjoy enhancing their knowledge base of the Shabbos kitchen in halacha.
Even though it was only 3 weeks ago, I took my life in my hands and I invited her to come. I think that she was the source, and I have been looking for different kinds of entertainments, different kinds of events to get CyberSem better known in the world. And when I heard that she was coming, I said, she is the speaker of us. I think that she is the source of encouragement for both her love for Eretz Yisrael and is a role model for the Jewish women and men everywhere. For her knowledge and perspective of the political landscape in Eretz Yisrael, and as a Jewish woman, is what motivated us to invite her to speak tonight. The next time she comes to North America in Yom Hashem, I will have more than 3 weeks' notice. Rivka was born in 1976 and a mother to 12 children. She belongs to the, and I'm reading her CV, she belongs to the ultra-Orthodox community, the Haredi community in Eretz Yisrael, and was married at the age of 18 to Yitzchak Rabitz, who is the mayor of Kiryat Yerim. Mrs. Rabitz served as chief of staff to the 10th president of the state of Israel, Mr. Reuben Rivlin. In 1999, she began working as Reuben Rivlin's parliamentary assistant. She became head of his office and ran many of his campaigns, including successful campaigns for his election as Speaker of the Knesset in 2003 and 2009, and his election as President of the State of Israel in 2014. She studied business administration and computer science at the Open University of Israel, where she received her MBA in information system. It says here that she's working on her doctorate, but she finished the doctorate. During Rivlin's visit to the United States towards the end of his term, President Biden, who's yet not going to be president much longer, but update the CV, kneeled before Rivka upon hearing that she is the mother of 12 children. Rivka wrote a book all about behind the scenes of her Haredi childhood and behind the scenes of the president's office, and also gives lectures on this topic. I'd like you to see one more video, and then Rabbi Sachs will introduce Mrs. Rivka. Video number 2.
First, let me define anti-Semitism. Not liking Jews is not anti-Semitism. We all have people we don't like. That's okay. That's human. It isn't dangerous. Second, criticizing Israel is not anti-Semitism. I was talking to some children in Britain the other day, and they asked me, is criticizing Israel anti-Semitism? I said no, and I explained the difference. I asked them, do you believe you have a right to criticize the British government? They all put their hands up. I said, now, which of you believes that Britain has no right to exist? None of them put their hands up. Now you know the difference, I said, and they all did. Anti-Semitism means denying the right of Jews to exist collectively as Jews with the same rights as everyone else. It takes different forms in different ages. In the Middle Ages, Jews were hated for their religion. In the 19th and early 20th century, they were hated because of their race. Today, they are hated because of their nation state, the State of Israel. It takes different forms, but it remains the same thing. The view that Jews have no right to exist as free and equal human beings. If there is one thing I and my contemporaries never expected, it was that anti-Semitism would reappear in Europe within living memory of the Holocaust. The reason we didn't expect it was that Europe had undertaken the greatest collective effort in all of history to ensure that the virus of anti-Semitism would never again infect the body politic. It was a magnificent effort of anti-racist legislation, Holocaust education, and interfaith dialogue. Yet anti-Semitism has returned despite everything.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. Well, I'm excited to hear from Jerusalem. Fresh air from Jerusalem I brought, and some blessings for you. Thanks to Rebbetzin Dr. Goldberg for bringing me here. So, as she said, my name is Rivka. I'm 48 years old. I'm a mother of 12, and I was the first woman in Israel to be a chief of staff to the president. That's the highest job in the government in Israel. I was born in Jerusalem. I was married when I was 18 and a half. I was living just 2 kilometers far from the Knesset. Knesset is the Israeli parliament, but I was never into the Israeli parliament. I didn't even know, I didn't read the paper, I didn't know about politics, anything. I was really, but then I got married with the son of a member of Knesset. My father-in-law was a member of Knesset. He was the head of the Haredi community in Israel. And that summer, that very summer, it was the first time that Netanyahu was elected to be the Israeli president, and probably every time was just the first time. He was young, and it was 20 years ago. And my father-in-law, as I was still a student, already married, still learning in seminary, and learning to be a teacher. I wanted to be an English teacher. That was my dream. And his assistant left him from the university, and he just looked at me one evening and said, would you like to come and help me in the Knesset? Be my intern. And I said, no way, I want to be a teacher. What do you earn as a teacher? Calculated it, it was 700 shekels. 700 shekels was like $150, I think. And he said, come with me to the Knesset. I think it will be better. And it was a bit better. I started working for him, and 2 years later, there was a new law in the Knesset that you can't hire first working there. And you can't hire family ladies. And I had to look for a new job. And around me was just a plain member of Knesset, nothing special. Well, his name was Reuben Vevlin, and he also hired his daughter, so he had to get rid of her too. And he was looking for an intern, and he said, "Would you like to come with me?" And I said, "Okay." It's sounded a bit boring, just plain member of Knesset, but I said, "Let's try." And after 2 years of working in the Knesset, Brady party, was surrounded with my people and the familiar surroundings. I went over to work in the Likud party. It's a secular office. I had to learn everything from the beginning. Just a year later, he became a minister. He became the Minister of Communications in Israel. The Minister of Communications is a very professional ministry, and we had to learn everything. It was new phones coming in and internet, and it was new things I had to all learn. And a few years later, he wanted to be the speaker of the Knesset, the head of the Knesset. Elections for that. And at the year of 2014, I was already pregnant with 11. He decided he wanted to be the Israeli That was really a campaign, an easy one. The whole year, we were traveling from north to south, going from all around Israel, trying to elections. And at the day he wanted, he became president-elect. He asked me, Rinka, what would you like to be? I appreciated what I did for him. And I didn't know, I was just 37, I didn't know how I had, and I just said, I want to be a chief of staff. Give me that job. I did. He said, please. And at the age of 37, I became the first woman to be chief of staff in the Israeli government. Chief of staff to president. I had to travel a lot. And I only wasn't true. Once I traveled to here, and we were invited to meet your prime minister, and the governor at those days. Her name was Julie Cadet. Did I say that right? Julie? Was the governor. Governor is the same like president in Israel as the governor here. And it was winter. I was already pregnant with 12. And I did bring a coat, okay? It was very cold. I was supposed to go to I did bring a coat. I had been told I was pregnant, and I needed very badly a pizza. Pizza. I needed a pizza. I came here on a Friday, and the first thing I looked at Google on the way, so I didn't know what kosher pizza, and I found one. But it closed at 10 o'clock. That is what. So, Shabbos, the first thing I did is go out to the pizza, the kosher pizza. We was in a hotel that was like a 30 minutes ride from the Jewish place. And it was again closed. So Sunday came, and I said, I'll get that pizza. And it was about 6 o'clock in the evening or something like that. I took a cab of 30 minutes. It was not cheap. And I got to the store for pizza. And I bought 3 big boxes of pizza. And on my way back, I felt I can't wait. So I asked the driver if it's okay and if I could taste the pizza. And I had a half of a slice. And that's it. I couldn't look at it. I brought it back to the office and people just tried it, but I think 2.5 participated. Oh, it was snowing, it was so cold. I came back to the hotel, my fingers were freezing. And then the next day coming, Monday, we had to plane and travel to Ottawa to meet the Prime Minister and to meet the governor, and then we'll go. They were telling me the cars are waiting down. I looked for my papers and all speeches and all the things we need, presents. We will leave for that day and just go running. And the people calling me and saying, "We're waiting for you. We'll fly." So I just opened the closet to take my coat and run down. Yeah, I just ran down because we didn't see I was fine. Thinking, what happened? I had a coat. Probably forgot the pizza. The coat, freezing cold. The whole way to Ottawa was just targeting that the ceremony will take place. But as we got there, it was out. Oh, I was standing next to the 2 presidents talking, and when our president took the podium, your governor came and stand next to me. She saw me off her gloves and gave me the gloves. Took off his North Face and gave me his coat, and it was looking like. And then she was whispering to me, "Next time you come to us, we are coming with you." Of course, I will make it. Still. This is a old pizza, just what I was in the room. That evening, she invited us to a beautiful place where she hosts the presidents. And we had a dinner together. And you know, there's a whole issue before we start the official meeting. There's a president's changing when we meet. No. So we heard he collects sacks. So we brought him very special sacks from Jerusalem, pictures of Jerusalem houses on the sacks. But when we met the governor, we brought in a serious present, something made from an olive tree. And then she gave back a very special present. There was a picture. You know, she's an astronaut or something. She was an astronaut. And she was twice in a mission with the she gave us a present, a beautiful picture, taken from space. And she just told us she wanted us to think of how the world looks from the outside. No changes between weathers, between people, between states. Everything looks the same. That's what she said. Going back home, and it was very close to Shabbos. We landed late on Friday, and then back home, calling my children from the way back home and telling them, please put some water with chicken and some chilies and spices. And I was like giving them because I knew I would come home really close for a candle wedding. They went down the stairs to my apartment. A neighbor of mine saw me and said, "Oh, Rivka, where are you coming from?" So I said, "I went to Canada, I made the Lebanon, the Afghanistan." How do you manage? It's the fact that it's Holy Shabbos, you have to light candles and cook, bake the children. Yeah, how do you do it? Since over the years, many of my friends and my family members and people around work. How? How do you do it, Rivka? How do you manage? And coming back home for Shabbos, lighting Shabbos candles, sitting down with the children and eating and stuff. I'm not sure that how is the right question here. Maybe the right question is why? Why do I do this? And why did Hashem put me in this situation and places? What did He want me to learn? And I was like sitting and thinking, and then I thought, maybe from this travel, it just wanted me to learn what she told us and showing us that picture. You see the world from outer space looks different. And I thought to myself, well, she didn't think to herself. The world from the outer space looks, you see Hashem us, moving us, you could see everything. Maybe that's what He wanted me to learn. And I decided to myself, I will try. That was the beginning of our term as a president, and I decided to try to learn from every place and from each one that I would meet. You know, there's a nice article that Shimshon Pinkas gives about two people that come to the airport. When you look at them in the entrance to the airport, it will seem the same. Two people going into the airport. One loves to see airplanes. He sticks his nose to the window and he wants to see his land. He wants to see them off. He wants to see them speed up. He loves it. He stood there 2 hours seeing it. He was so happy. He told himself, but then he went home. The second one, it just looked the same. But the second one went on, and he took a plane, a flight, and he got to a place. He wanted to get somewhere, and he got. At the end of that day, those people that just looked the same. One was at the same place he was the day before, and the other one was in a different place. He went on. He his role. And I was saying to myself, I want to be that like the other one. I want to everything that I meet and that I see something and go on with it. And maybe another form. Let's say I've had a few more opportunities like that on the years of being with the president. One was happened, he had to travel to had to go and meet the Russian president. Why? Because we heard rumors that there's a state against us selling very bad weapons to one of our close neighbors, a very dangerous weapon. And we were asked by the prime minister and by the government to go and talk to the Russian president and ask him to stop it. He was friends with that country. I can't give out details, but he was the one that could stop them, and we were asked to go and meet him. So we'll travel from today to tomorrow. And we traveled. We were preparing ourselves with the names of the weapon and the names of the guns and everything. We wrote down on a small paper. We should have it in front of us, and we were all like excited. And when we came to Russia, they were telling us he doesn't have a lot of time cooking. He's very busy. He will just have you for just a working meeting, and it will just be for 30 minutes. So it's just 30 minutes with the Russian president. And we went out and traveled to the Kremlin, and we were pretty excited of coming Kremlin. The meeting started. And he was really nice. He speaks English in private English, not in this meeting because it was an official meeting, so we had a translator. But he was really nice. And he went on and he said he will try to help us and he will talk to the country and he will try to stop them. And he was really surprised us. And he said, listen, I want to invite you for dinner. It was a working meeting, a state visit. I was really surprised. They said, listen, I will be bringing 5 of my staff with me to the dinner. So you, President Biden, you also could bring with you 5 of your people. And we found ourselves at the end of the day getting dressed nice and coming back to the Kremlin with our cars, coming back. And they were telling us, the whole way his people were telling us, you can't take pictures of him. Only when he's standing behind the podium and the spokesperson raises her hand, then you can take a picture. When I saw him, I understood why. He's so short. He has like a small stage behind the podium. When he goes on the stage, so she raises her hand and they let you take a picture. I took a picture and I almost was taken to a severe death. They were running after me. Give me the phone, delete the picture. So I deleted most of it, but when I saved. And we came there and we were all surprised. We prepared a beautiful dinner. The forks were made of gold, really crazy, beautiful place here. Everything was kosher. You heard there's a kosher, there's a front lady in the delegation, so he brought a Shabbat guy that stood, even the wine was kosher. Standing there with the wine, everything was kosher, with like maybe 9 very elegant dinner. And when dessert came in, beautiful dessert. He looked around and he said, I read your CVs and I saw there's a here to 11. So I said, yes, it's me, but it was not. It was a funny question because I was the only woman at the table. And then he said, listen, I want to tell you a story about my child. And he started telling us that he was born in St. Petersburg, even not in town. His family was so poor, they were living out of town in the skirts of St. Petersburg. And his parents were really poor, and he was the only child. And they were working so hard from very early in the morning to very late in the evening. So he was alone. The whole time he was alone. So he found on the same block, he says, a very nice family. Something weird about them. They had 4 children, and that is not usually. Most families had one children, one child, and Russia. But they were very welcoming, and they helped him with homework, and they gave him food, and he loved being there. Just one funny evening, Friday afternoon will come, the mother will light candles, and the family will sit down to a festive dinner. And he says, and sitting so close, when I go meet presidents, so I ask usually how is also, questions. Sometimes I did ask myself how, and people do ask me how. So if you ask how, I'll tell you like I don't help my husband. He's really very supportive. Sometimes there's a day that I could come back home to the office and sit in the chair and say, okay, this was my last day. So I'm going to go back there. It's too tough. And people ask what happened, and I say, oh, my staff got into a big fight. I don't want to go back there. It's not for me. He'll say, yes, it's for you. Stronger than them, and that. Let's see. Sometimes he will tell me, go back just for one more day. And then go on. And I really got a very supportive family. My mother helped me a lot. And sometimes I was not the best mother. I had a daughter studying here, so but she doesn't understand English, so I can tell you. Sometimes I would go to PTAs, yeah, and not remember who's the teacher. With the class of Hindi, with the teacher of that one, and just now and then, it's like the joke my husband says, there's a joke about a father. That one day his wife had to go out early, so he took the children out and he prepared a sandwich for the daughter and his brother, and he took the bag and he took her out and drove her, and they knocked at the kindergarten, and she opened the door and she said, oh, she's not here anymore. So he crossed the street and they knocked at the other kindergarten, and they said, she's not here anymore. They tried the third one, and then his daughter called his sleeve and said, if you will take me to one more kindergarten, I will be late to school, and my teacher will be mad at me. My husband said that joke about me a lot of times. I really did remember who was there. So with laughing and joking, I heard, if you ask how, there's a book, I don't know if you've heard of that, it's a book called How Did She Do It? How Does She Do It? Read that? It's a book about a lady from London, has 2 children, and she juggles between, she's a banker, and she juggles between the bank and her children, and it's a very funny one. And sometimes when I read it a lot, sometimes when I read it, she will read me, and she will laugh. She will know how many PTAs I survived, how many dentists inspected my children, to how many eyes, glasses, how many shoes we had in the house. Each one has boots, rocks, Shabbos shoes, regular things, sneakers. It's maybe 600 pairs. And I don't know why, probably just like my house, they're never in their place. I don't know why. They're never there. When you need them, it was once a morning. He came to Jerusalem. We had a big conference about anti-Semitism, and we invited him to come, and he came. It was crazy, like he came for life. And I live on the road to Jerusalem from the airport, and I know that I will be going out very early Traffic won't stop me. So I prepare myself. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, everything's prepared. Sandwiches, cook. I was all dressed, makeup. Opening the door, coming out. I yelled at him. Ina! What happened? It was like 6 years old. I'm missing a shoe. She has to go to the first grade. Are you missing a shoe? How many shoes are you missing? Just one? Yeah, I have one. Where did you find that one? Next to the couch. So if you found one next to the couch, the other one's supposed to be there, right? Just look around. Shoes doesn't have feet. They can't do it. But all the she's from my mother came so nervous and I've seen the road. Now that she's missing the shoes, so I came back home and I was seeing the floor under the couch, going, no shoe, no shoe. Then I remember my sister that was supposed to clean the living room was very nervous because it was really against each one of them has like a 5 minutes duty at the end of the day. But she was nervous and she said, if you won't come here and pick up your belongings, you will find them. That's the issue. And the garbage in the house of 12 children had no choice. I just put it over in the middle of the living room. I ran out and I made it in time, had a great day. It was our only continue, had a few leaders and leaders in the conference. And I came back home at night. And I was still there. Okay, so that's how I do it, because people really want to know what I have. But really, I decided to ask myself, why? Why did they do it? What the passion would be to learn from staying here. And at the end of the term, being in the president's house, I think I got some of the answers to what. That was 2 weeks before we finished. Presidents in Israel are elected for 7 years. That's it. And we can't run again. One time, 7 years. And the last few months of President's presidency, President Biden was elected to be the president of the United States. We were rulers in Israel. We were not sure if he was a good president for us, if he's nice, not. But we got an invitation because it was our last weeks in office. He invited the Israeli president come to the White House, and we were prepared, and the affairs ministry, and everyone was talking to us and telling us prepare yourself. We're not sure he's nice. And some people even said we're not sure he's in focus. So prepare yourself. We were preparing and working some things from the Americans and some IDF and some weapon, as you know, and airplanes, things like that. And we traveled to the United States. And until then, I already met some American presidents and other presidents around the world, even the King of Britain and Clinton and Obama and President Trump. But even though we were excited going to meet the president and to the White House is always exciting. So we prepared ourselves. Some of my staff even went and they bought new dresses and shoes and traveling. And as we were getting to Washington, everything the same as I remembered from the first times. We were checked security for maybe 2 hours, and then we were supposed to stay in our room. They'll tell you, can't go out after you check. And they all of us together in the White House, and all the people that are not part of the meeting go to the yard to wait. 5 people are invited into the house, and we were supposed to sit and wait for him in a place called the Roosevelt Salon. And we were sitting there and waiting. And then his protocol lady came and said, it's your last time in the White House, President. I will let you in 10 minutes back to you. He said, yes, thanks. We're right. Exciting. And as the door opened, President Biden called us in. It's funny because we could tell the story in the same day I out today. He called us to come in and pouring out the hall. And we saw President Rivlin, the Israeli president, saw that his secretary is coming in with him. So he told him if would come and try and come with me too. And I tried and snapped in, found myself in the oval room. It's really oval, you know, has an oval shape. With the two presidents. But just the four of us doing for me. It was just a small talk. It was very nice. You know, we prepared ourselves. Maybe he will want to be nice. Maybe he will attack Israel. Maybe he will ask hard questions. I don't know. It was nice. We would just have like a small talk. How's your wife? How's your wife? And some environment issues that came up there. And at one point, President Biden tried to be nice and asked the president, who's this lady with us? And he said, oh, this is Rivka. She's my chief of staff. So President Biden said his to shake hands with me. So President told him, no, don't try. Rivka doesn't shake hands with strange men according to halacha. She doesn't do that. Don't try. And guess how many children there had. I don't know why he said it, but he said it. And he didn't let him guess. He answered, Rivka has 12 children. Tell me he's joking. I said, no, I do. Oh, my mother should meet you. She admired large families. Oh, she would love to. I'm so sorry she's not with us anymore. I want to tell you a story about my mother, he says. But before I had to get down on my knees to a mother of 12, and as saying that, just very elegant, went down on his knees. He was wearing a blue suit. I just get some trouble. Something, but he was just down and right up on the right up, and he took us to the other side of the oval room. And what do you think? The president of almost the most important holds on a shelf and is working. A picture of his mother. And he took off from the shelf a picture of his mother. And he was telling us some really silly story about her, about the day we saw a picture of his mother, a short, elegant lady wearing an elegant red dress, two tall men, himself and Obama. And he told us that this picture was taken on the day that Obama was going to be the president of the United States, and he himself was the vice president. And at one point of the ceremony, he says, Obama got so excited that he froze. He couldn't go on with that. So his mother slapped Obama on his shoulders and said, come on, boy, I'll take you on. And that made him to the rest of the ceremony, and the ceremony went on. And he thought it was very funny, so we stood there and laughed with him. But I remember standing there and thinking to myself, oh, maybe I got some answers to all the one. Maybe I had to learn about the power of a parent, not only mothers, also fathers. The power of us as parents for our children at the age of 70, even being the President of the United States, still holding in our working room a picture of a mother, still wanting to tell stories. Oh, wanting to be with us. And I was thinking to myself, the President of the United States, he didn't go down on his knees because my name is Riv, or because I'm my chief of staff and president. He sees pens of them. He went down on his knees because I decided to their life, the value for all family. Maybe this is the answer. Maybe this is the answer to why did I have to sit, of course, of Putin and hear his story about what a Jewish mother, a Jewish family made to his life, changed his point of view of Jews. Maybe that was the reason. And it made me like splits of moments, but it made me thinking about my grandmother. My grandmother was born in Israel, and she left Israel between the two world wars because there was no food in Jerusalem. There was starvation. Children were dying from starving. And she came to America, and they had a very good business, and they had a lot of money. But the moment that they heard that they would come back to Israel a few days after the 6 Days War, someone told her that chinuch in Yerushalayim is bad. So she left everything, and they took their 7 children with nothing and started everything from scratch in Jerusalem. And my grandmother, my Bubby, she admired everything that had to do with governments. Everything. She had pictures of the American presidents in her kitchen. She copied this wallpaper from the Oval Room in her kitchen. I promise you, this very oval wallpaper was in her kitchen. And she was going around and telling people, oh, my granddaughter is running the country. And I was telling her, buddy, I'm not running the country. I'm just helping the president. He was really proud about everything that had to do with gun. If she would hear that an American president went down on his knees for her teaching me about Jewish values, teaching me about sticking to Jewish values, teaching me about not giving up. It was not, I was not feeling comfortable not shaking his hands. He sent out his hand. It was embarrassing. I got red. I was blushing. But my grandmother taught me, halacha is halacha, and I have to live according to halacha. And I think maybe that was the thing I had to learn from my years there. And I wanted to finish with a story from last month in Israel. As you all know, it's a very bad war going on now in Israel. And it started in Simchat Torah, as you know, and one day I was sitting in my office and my husband called me and he said, my husband is a mayor, and people couldn't go down to the south in the beginning. It was dangerous. It was only the army there. But he was a mayor, so they took a bus of mayors and they wanted to show them. And he said, listen, we got an invitation. You like to come with me. It was just like 2 weeks after the war, maybe a week even after the war. And he said, yes. And I left my work, everything, just dropped my pen and ran to the bus and we traveled there. But Malki was with us too. And this tunnel came in the Kibbutz Valley. That's what we saw, these pictures that she took. Everything was burned. Everything was burned. We went into the houses. I never knew that death has such a strong smell. Everything smelled from death. We went from house to house. And again, I thought to myself, I was not privileged to be here just for looking at all this. I had to learn something from this. And in the last few weeks, I worked at the municipality of the Cherish now. And a soldier from the Cherish lost his life at the mill. It's a big accident at Rafa in the mill. And it's a tiger, but it's a tank, and a few soldiers, and there was a missile sent to the tank, and the tank burned, and a few soldiers lost their lives. And one of them is called Eli Moshe Tzimlist. He lives in the Cherish. And I knew him before. When I started working for the Cherish, he told me one time. He said, Rivka, Could you help me with the municipality? I want to build a street. We want to build a street. We already have $1 million, and we got it there. And I want to tell myself, I built Bimba, and I'm very good in building wood, and I did everything. But we want the building. Please ask the mayor to help us. We want the building. And as he passed away, we went into his parents also before the fire, right? After the fire, we stepped here a few times went to us in Shiva. And the only thing his father is young. I don't know, maybe not 50 even. And the only thing he wanted is, I want to build an emotion dream. So it was not the time yet. We couldn't give him the building really, but we wanted to come towards the family. So we made some shortcuts and did give them the certificate for the building that he wanted. And at signing that certificate at the city hall, we invited the family. Only his mother and his father came in. His father is called Shimmy. That's his name. And Shimmy stood up and told it. The city hall, when we signed the information that they could build a building for the Shimmy. And he took happy and felt emotion and we loved him and what a good brother and son he was. And then he said, Elder Moshe loved the building and everything by himself. He built Finland, he built and Kodesh, and he was so good in building things from wood. But I'm going to tell you, he was great in building people. He was great in building people's hearts. He was taking children as well, or families, and was building them. He looked to us who were few parents there in us Israel. They said, remember this. Remember all this to build the hearts of the children. That's it, like well answer all my questions all over the years. As parents, we must remember our duty is to build the Shamar and spirit of families. And children will not forget, even if they will be 70 years old, even if they will be Christmas or Biden, they will remember us building them up. So this is the answer regards to all my why. The sharing with you. Thank you for listening to Celebrate.
Two quick thank yous. The most important person I didn't thank before. First of all, thank you. We can, things from the Beres Lavcha, but really pulled it all together and giving a meaning to a focus for when we see things. The Baal Shem Tov said we know that that a person is supposed to learn something from every event. Rivka really stands for that. We should look, here's Hashem, and give everybody a bracha, that we should be able to always see the goodness in our children and the goodness that Hashem sends us. And that, as Hashem, we will reap Mashiach Tzidkenu. It's always looking for Hashem. One thing, the most important person I have to thank, and that's my husband. He didn't provide for us, but he did whatever I needed. He did whatever I needed. The answer was sure. I wanted to conclude with Rabbi Sachs in the last a very cute clip, and I call very, very much for coming. I hope this has been a meaningful evening.
In Judaism, we believe we connect to God in 3 different ways: creation, revelation, redemption. So how do we connect to God through creation? I remember on one occasion when I was young and I was in Jerusalem for one of the first times at sunset, the setting sun. turns those light brick walls of Jerusalem into burnished gold. And if you're standing on Mount Scopus, where the Hebrew University is, and you're looking out to the Judean hills, out towards the Dead Sea, it looks as if the whole landscape is on fire. And my goodness me, I felt God at that moment. But you can feel God in the blossoms on a spring day in Central Park. You can sense God in a snowflake. To see the beauty of creation, that is one way God speaks to us. Revelation, when we sit and learn Torah, especially when we sit and learn Torah together, and we are hearing God's word. And it may be that we're learning Torah, so we're looking at how Rashi refracted that word, and Ramban and Rashbam and Ibn Ezra. So we're hearing that several thousand-year-old conversation between heaven and earth that we call the written Torah and the world. We become part of that conversation, recapturing that moment of revelation on Sinai. And then there's a third way, redemption. When I hear the cry of a child, or the cry of a person dying of hunger in Africa, I am hearing God calling to us to be his partner in the work of redemption, one that is much more active than in creation or revelation, but one where we really feel we are partners with God in making the world a little better. So I think those are the three primary ways in which we encounter God. It may be that not all of them come at the same period in our lives, but God is always there if we know where to look.